Hello, back with you. September 30th recap on today's trades. Bit of a difficult day in the markets, at least for me and for us. We took a lot of trades. Found ourselves on the backsides, a lot of trades. Overall, big $2,400 loss, considering the size of money being played with. That's why I call it big. Let's jump right into it. This was posted to the group. You can go through it and take a look at it with more detail and look at the timestamps and see when we entered and when we exits. A couple wins in here, but couple pretty epic losses, and just want to recap those so there is a good learning lesson. It's a good lesson for us. I always say that either the day is going to put profits in the bank account or profits in our educational bank account. So today was one of those days where the markets taught us a lesson as opposed to putting money into our account. So let's jump right into it. We started with our watch list. This was posted before the market. You can go back and look at the timestamp. It was, I think, I want to say 9:09 a.m. Eastern time or something like that. First stock we were talking was ITRM. And, overall pre-market today, if you look at the pre-market on the NASDAQ here, generally uptrending. Although it did open up slightly lower than the closing price yesterday. But nonetheless, we had an uptrending market and then just kind of heated off towards the end. So jumping into ITRM, what was it that we saw? What was it that we traded? And what did we learn from it? And what can you learn from it? Really, that's what it comes down to. So it's your standard A, B, C, D pattern, A, B, C. So you got your, spike, pullback, consolidation. And usually we like buying off of the break of previous resistance. So this stock price having found resistance in the 170s. You can see the moment this thing started punching through, the first candle that opened up, the stock went right into a halt. And if you paid attention to yesterday's recap, we were talking about these halt and gap up plays. So to no surprise, a stock is able to go from 160, gap up, halt, gap up again, halt, and go all the way up to the 240s between 9:30 and 9:45. So in 15 minutes, you have a tremendous move. And what was the problem and what happened to us? So let's look at the timing of our entry, because we were trying to buy off of this break right here, but we didn't get filled because the halt was put into place. So we followed it in this chase thinking that, okay, bit of a higher risk chasing it up here. I mean, you're risking about 30 or so cents. Nonetheless, we really did not anticipate this thing to getting halted every 20 or 30 cent move. So look at the timing of our entry at the bottom where the mouse is right here at 9:35 at 2:04, and you can see about an hour and 10 minutes afterwards we were out for a pretty horrible loss. And if you look at the timing, I'm going to zoom in here, lots of halts between where we entered here at 9:34 and the time we exit here to 10:40s down in here. So again, 100% admittance, a little bit of a chase right here, but we've seen this in the past. Lots of volume coming in, gap up, the stock spikes. I mean, the first one that rings a bell to me is OXBR from a few days back. We had the same sort of price action on that. You had the break of the pre-market highs, and this thing went all the way from 4 to the 9s in this kind of a gap and halt and gap up play. So that's what we were looking for as well. See, look at the difference right here. So this is your pre-market highs and the 4s. You got the halt and then the massive gap up to the 8s and eventually the 9s, and that's what we're looking for here. So that's why we got in on the same thesis that we're in a hot market. Things are moving. Got good news. Was FDA related news as well. And then we got stuck in a halt. And we were actually trying to sell. In this candle right here, we had a sell order at 250. So full disclaimer, this is probably a rather greedy sell order. So I think the loss is actually fully deserved, because this is one of those times where we were riding off the high of a stock like OXBR and saying, okay, well, if something like this can move 100% off of a halt, then maybe we have some kind of a similar play as well here. And, we were shorted by 6 cents, right? If we would have put an order in the 240s, 230s, we would have been out for profit, and likely it wouldn't have led to such a disgusting overtrading setup. But nonetheless, missed that, got caught in the second halt. Tried selling in this one, and I wish you were here to see the candle live. This candle did not last very long, went back into a halt. Now we're already below our entry point by the time we go into a halt, and then opened up again. And now this is where things started getting out of control, and this is where I think the learning lesson on these halts can really shine through. So as you can see, we had gotten here in the twos fully well expecting that our risk is the pre-market highs, okay? And as you can see that once we missed the first, the second, and the third halt, the stock was consolidating right here at the pre-market highs. Let me just extend this line right here. Right where the highs are is where the stock was consolidating, and it actually showed a sign of reversal and strength into what? Another halt. Okay? And then it opened up another 10 to 20 second candle. We didn't get filled, back into a halt. And then it finally opened up, and now we were saying to ourselves, all right, we held this line up here. Let's see if we can hold this for another reversal. And, when this really started tanking here, it was at 10:45. It was just too painful to watch anymore. Obviously, the stock did not have any steam left in it. So we cut our losses here in the 240s, 1040s, and our price point was what was it here? 141. So again, just a bit of a realistic setup as to what can happen in these stocks. Now, 90% of people, they see something like this and they say, this is why I hate the stock market, and this is why I will never trade, and this is why it's a gamble, and so forth. Yeah, but you know what? I don't think in my years of doing this, I've never seen something like this before, where it halts 6 times inside of the trading hour. This was in 45 minutes, not even. Okay, so this is a one-off. We got caught in it. It spit out a $1,500 loss. Granted, we should have probably cut our losses here when this thing started tanking, but we were trying to see if there is a reversal, and no, today was just an absolute fail in the context of the stock, and now it's trading in the $1.04 range per share. So really good lessons on these plays, and I think the even better lesson to take away is to not get discouraged, because you're not defined by any single trade. It's the overall net trajectory of your account size. We're still up on the month, okay? Granted, this wiped out quite a bit. And then I want to talk about how this wipeout of $1,500 kind of set the psyche for the remainder of the day, which was kind of perpetuating the loss. At this point, we're down $1,500, but because of the major setback, the psychological setback, I want to talk about what that did to the remainder of the trades, where we lost another $1,000. So again, these are learning lessons for you, okay? We are not perfect, but we are profitable. And inside of our profitability exists days like this as well. Okay, so the next one was ITRM. You can see at 10:50. So 4 minutes after getting in, we tried doing a bit of a dip buy opportunity, and just a raid of stop losses going off. This was at 10:50 to 11:02. So let's go and take a look at what it is we saw. 10:50 right here. We had seen the reversal, thinking that, gee, we cut our losses right at the bottom. Maybe there was a little bit of patience required, and maybe this was going to be the reversal. So we prematurely got into it here in the 150s, and then again, a rate of stop losses went out, and we cut our losses a few minutes later at 138 at 11:02. So that would have been right in here. Okay. And then we moved on to NNDM, and this was the other stock, the second stock on our watch list. And I really just want to point out that this was a mover, okay? We were just not trading it well today, okay? The psyche of taking such a giant loss on ITRM really played with our execution on this stock. So let's talk about what it is that we were seeing. So at 11:07 we entered and exited at 11:17. So 11:07 would have been somewhere in here. Yeah, so somewhere in here we entered at 275 at 11:07. Right here. So right on this dip right here we entered, and look at the run up. This thing ran up all the way from the 270s all the way to the 320s. Okay? Now, if you look at the position size, it was 1,000 shares less than the shares we were playing with on ITRM. So there was almost this pre-built psyche into the fact that we wanted to make back the losses from ITRM, okay? This is the number one thing that messes people up, right? And this is the stuff that is extremely easy to get caught by. Even we got caught by it. And as you can see, 10 minutes later, we cut our losses at 279. So sorry, this is I'm prematurely talking about 275 here. Let me talk about the entry here first at 11:07 and 11:17 exit. 291 to 279. Let me bring that up real quick. 11:07, 11:07, 11:07, right in here. Right, so we bought this right here thinking that we finally have a trend reversal, confirmed trend reversal off of this VWAP right here, and a breakout, thinking this is going to continue, and we got caught in a massive dip again. So just horrible execution. And then a few minutes after we got out, you can see right here we got back in at 11:23 at 275, which is right here. Perfect execution. And we did not sell into this ramp up because even at this point we were up $750 almost, even more, almost $850 we were up at this point, erasing almost half of our loss from ITRM. But greed settled in, being disappointed in the first trade settled in, and we didn't take our profits at all, even though it met our 15% standard quota, and we got caught in this dip right here. And we sold at 280 at, was that 1250-ish? I bet you that's what it was. Yeah, 1247. Sold at 1280, at 280. Okay? And then back into ITRM. What do we see at 220 on ITRM? At 220, we saw that ITRM had confirmed multiple support. How many times? Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. And it had shown some kind of a reversal off of the support in 140s. So we thought the entry into 150s was excellent. And it actually was. It went as high as the 160s. We had nearly 8% move here between the 220s and the 240s. So in 20 minutes, we had 8%. Again, the greed had settled in from having lost so much on ITRM earlier in the morning, and we got caught in the rate of stop losses and had to cut our losses later on at, what was that, 252. So right in this raid right here, we got out. And good decision to get out, because look at the failure afterwards. Okay? And we got back into NNDM, which was showing to spike. And I think this is what actually made this such a really good recap for you to listen to, because this trade right here was actually excellent and in line with not getting greedy in a choppy market. So NNDM at 328. All right, so that was exactly off of this massive dip from its highs. It had ran up. We purposely sat and watched this because, this thing is just so choppy. And finally, when it pulled back, you started seeing a rate of stop losses going off, and we finally were able to position ourselves on the right side of the trade. And we entered at 277. What time was that at? At 328. So this would have been somewhere in here. Yeah. So right here at 277, and sold a few minutes later in the 290s. And that would have been at 332. So in 4 minutes, there was 170 bucks made right here. Okay, and then it kind of heated off, and now it's doing its own thing right here. Okay, so this was an excellent dip buy. It dipped, gave back 50% of what it dipped, and we executed on that. So not getting greedy, because with the train of thought of the previous trade, I guess we could have just held on and hoped for these price points out here because we were pissed off and disappointed at our initial trade on ITRM. So a really good trade recap on just the day, how one bad trade can lead to overtrading, how one bad trade can lead to wanting to get the money back in one trade as opposed to divvying it up. I mean, listen, between ITRM, okay, the money that we could have made in the one, this one right here, the 150s that went all the way up to the 170s, and the initial one right here on NNDM, we got in at 275 that went as high as the the 320s. We would have been out for a scratch. We would have literally erased the loss from ITRM in the morning. Okay, so it's just a really good lesson because I kind of feel like all of the recaps have been so positive recently that it kind of builds this anticipation that we never take losses. No, of course we take losses, but what keeps us in this game and what keeps us coming back to this game is that profitability is inevitable if you stay disciplined and if you don't get emotional with your trades. Okay, so I hope this recap brought some tremendous value to how you look at the markets, how you prevent getting discouraged, and how you keep pushing along. We'll be back again today. Looks to us like the NASDAQ right here has been kind of just doing this choppiness towards the afternoon, so a little bit of a crazy afternoon, and kind of started going back up again in after hours. So, we'll be back with tomorrow's watch list in a few hours here. And we'll see what tomorrow holds. You better believe tomorrow we're not going to be as greedy, right? We're going to take smaller profits, and that's a good thing. Have a great night. We'll be back with you tomorrow, and we'll be back with you with the watch list in a few hours.